All right. Hi, Brother James. I'm here with Matt Curran and Griffin Pamelia from the Ministry and Service Leadership Team, and we just wanted to check in and ask a couple questions that we had prepared for today. So I
That's
just wanted
great.
to
Nice to
start
see you.
out. Yeah, nice
I've
to see you as
I've,
well.
I've
Just wanted
seen all your college selections on the new Instagram. So you're going to Northeastern, right? And Griffin's
yep,
going to
yep.
uh,
I'm very
Lehigh.
excited about that.
Good. And then Matt was Haverford early on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Very good. Nice to have that all over with anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Something to look forward to.
Good. Good.
So I had the first question here, and I was going. We were wondering how the brothers are doing amid this pandemic.
Oh, thank you for asking. I think they're doing very well. Yeah, they do miss you. They miss the life of the school that they've been involved in some cases for 60 years in different schools. And so it's a quiet time for them. But I think most of the brothers have been around long enough that they've learned to kind of just roll with the different things that happen in life. You know, it's not like it's a very tense atmosphere. People are nervous. People are being cautious, but they're also relaxed and enjoying seeing each other and hearing from friends and classmates, students. So yeah, they're doing quite well. Nobody is sick or anything like that. And we see Brother JD from time to time since he lives in a different place.
Another question we had, well, during this stressful time, I'm sure a lot of the students and their families are wondering how you can find the holy presence of God when we're suffering in this isolation.
How do you find the holy presence of God? I mean, I think there's a quote from somewhere that says God is always present, bidden or unbidden. So whether you're looking or not, he's there. But when you're looking, I think you can really find God in the ordinary events of your life and people. Sometimes when we slow down as we are now, when we're not as busy, don't have as many activities, we're taking our time, it's easier to notice things that may speak to us of God. Like I happened to walk past in the courtyard outside of Guidance, between Guidance and the pool, and I noticed the smell of the flowers the other day, which I've never done in 8 years because I've always been busy going somewhere. Uh, there's a Irish poet from the second half of the 20th century, Patrick Kavanagh, and in his The Great Hunger, he has a line where he says, "God is in the bits and pieces of every day." And I think that's where you really look for the presence of God if you want to find it in the little things that happen in your life that make you stop and think, little things you appreciate because they remind you of normal life. I mean, I think that's where you can find God now.
So, brother, can you think of any quotes from LaSalle that would maybe help guide us in trying to stay hopeful during this stressful time?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if it'll help you stay hopeful, but the quote that I always think of from De La Salle is the one I put it on the wall of the snack bar in the Glazer Center for a reason, because it's one of my favorite and I think one of the most important, where he says, "Be satisfied with what you can do, since God is satisfied with it. But do not spare yourself in what you can do with grace. And believe that, provided that you want it, you can do more with the grace of God than you think." And I think that's very important because we're stuck in a situation where, like, people say that my classes aren't what I want them to be, and they're not the same as being face to face. My relationships are not the same. You can do something, you can do enough, you can do more than you think you can. So you can take this situation and, with the help of God, make it into something that is, good for other people as well as for yourself. That's the operation of grace. It always is to take an ordinary human situation, sometimes a mess as this can be, and make it better. So I think that's kind of an inspirational quote. We can all do more than we think we can, even in a time like this. So when you want to throw up your hands and say, "I can't handle it, I can't learn calculus this way, or I can't maintain my relationships, I can't make plans," then really you realize that if you kind of just settle down and ask for God's help, you can do more.
And kind of branching off of what Matt was said and asked, do you have any thoughts on how we can continue to grow our faith life when LaSalle and our parishes are closed?
Sure. I mean, I think it grows off of a couple of the other things I've said. I mean, your parishes are closed. the sacramental life of the church, the Eucharist, and the other sacraments is closed off for a time, except in the case of emergency. But that doesn't prevent you from having a sacramental view of life. And what a sacrament is the divine intersects with the human in a very specific way. And a sacramental view of life is it's not just the 7 sacraments, although it is those, but God is intersecting in our world all the time. Maybe you run across a person that you keep up with via text or Snapchat or something who's a little bit down, and you find the right way to talk to that person to bring him back up. You find the right way to connect with somebody who's feeling lonely at just the right time. And that's God intervening in our lives as much as he does through the sacraments. So I think when you're missing that church aspect of your life, or you're missing LaSalle, which is, for many of us, it's the place where we meet God in not only our liturgies, but in the other people he puts here. That's where we can find, I think, the way to carry on. So it's different, but it's not absent.
Brother, so you mentioned reaching out to people who you might not have seen or talked to in a while. What are some other meaningful ways that we can come together as a community to let everyone know that we are here for each other?
Okay, coming together as a community, of course, it's not possible. Literally, it's dangerous, so we don't do that literally. But I think there's ways you can come together as a community just by working at maintaining your friendships. I mean, if you have a custom that you used to have, like if you had a custom, I think the runners often would go to, was it El Limon in Ambler?
Yeah,
given night of the week.
Element.
You would go out there. You can't do that right now, but you can still maybe, have salsa and chips at home and get together in a format like this and just enjoy each other's company for 45 minutes. So, there's not the usual routine that we have, and I'm sure it's very much true that the band probably has its own same version of these rituals, places you go, or wing night that's famous. You can't do it in the same way, but you can bring the same people together. And it's sometimes helpful just to see the faces like this. I mean, I think in class, having the faces up is immensely helpful for reaching out and making the connection.
Yeah, I know that a lot of kids are excited for the esports tournaments that are starting tonight for the Spirit Week. So I think that's also another great way that we're going to come together.
Right. Any way to connect. I mean, it is all virtual, but it is a connection, and it'll make us appreciate when we really connect again.
Yeah, so speaking of that connection and just community in general, what are some ways that we can keep the spirit of Kairos alive during the social distancing?
Well, it was never more important, was it? I mean, I think we all know what the essence of Kairos is. It's, living the fourth, and that's not just a slogan. It's living Kairos back in the situation where you find yourself. And now, the situation is it's very difficult. But I think, you're called to live the fourth with the people you're living with every day. Maybe you have a little brother, and it was easy when you first came back to Kairos. He probably thought you were crazy. You were giving him hugs and everything, telling him you loved him, and he was running away thinking that you had cracked up and they had really sent you away for a few days or something. But that was easy then when you were on top of the world. Now, that you're home, he probably can be really annoying. Or your older brother who's come back from university, you were used to having your own space, and now you have all of a sudden a bit of a frat house in the middle of your bedroom, the way he started to live at college. And this can be all very inconvenient. And rising above that and living the fourth, which means living God's friendship into that situation, is what you can do. Sometimes it means as little as just keeping your mouth shut when you'd like to snap. Other times it means finding something positive to say.
In regards to Kairos, are there any plans surrounding Kairos 37-134 as of right now?
Well, I think what I would say, rather than plans, there are hopes. There are hopes that there won't have to be an asterisk after this year. It's the 1 year we didn't finish Kairos for everyone we wanted to go. But, first we would need to have the closure or the curfew, the whatever you want to call it, the quarantine done away with, so people can be together in groups of 30 or 40. Then seniors would want to have to take the option. Perhaps some of the leaders that are there for 37-134 could do it. Otherwise, we might have to invite other leaders back to fill in. But the main thing, I think, is to look at how can you do Kairos if you're socially distancing. It's going to be very difficult to do, and you've all met on from 6 feet apart. That doesn't work quite so well. It would have to require a whole new way of doing it. So we have a committee of relevant faculty and administrators that we call the Pastoral Committee, and we're talking about 134, what we can do, or what we can do for those kids if it turns out we can't do anything before they leave for school. So we can we're looking to make the best solution in a bad situation given the limits that are put on us. Like, we don't know, our retreat house is going to be open for business. Are they going to be scared of having a youth group because it's more unpredictable than having nuns or something come for a retreat? So we'll try.
So going off of limitations with groups because of this quarantine, with our summer service program canceled this summer, how can our guys, and what can they do? What can our guys do to continue to leave to serve?
Well, I think you got to put an accent on a different word in that phrase there, leave to serve. I mean, the accent isn't going to be on leaving, as it's been summers, especially for the juniors, to go abroad, to go out to the West or something. It's going to be on the serving. And I think the challenge is, in some ways, to serve where nobody's watching. So it can be in your own home. I mean, I don't know, in some cases, out of the 1,075, 80 students we have, I'm sure some people are living, now at home, spending all time. You have your grandmother with you. Maybe she has a touch of dementia. Practical example is, she says 50 times a day, have I said my rosary already today? I mean, the worst answer is say, Grandma, what are you talking about? We're Jewish. But then there's a better answer where you could say to her, Grandma, come on, just sit in your chair. I'll go get your rosary from your nightstand. And then there's the best answer. It's, Grandma, I'll say it with you. And, you give 15 minutes of your life to, to help, this woman who's loved you for your whole life out as she reaches the end of hers. That's a real way. You're not leaving, but you're serving. Think of the places that you serve now. I mean, some of the kids go for elder share to the Artman home or the villa. I mean, if you know somebody by name, one of the older people, write them a card. If you don't know anybody by name, I mean, what a nice thing it would be to send a card off to the villa just for the next sister having a birthday. Here are these people in their 80s and 90s spending 24/7 in their rooms and probably having nobody pay attention to them. A lot of them don't have families anymore. Write them a card. Same thing with over at Trieste House. You can't leave to serve, like in Feed Philly or the homeless outreach programs. But what you could do, is find out there are food banks near your where you live. I just drove past, I think, at the Enon Tabernacle, not far from LaSalle. There was a huge line of cars today. I think it was probably people getting food. You can say to your mom, can we get some, peanut butter and jelly and 2 extra loaves of bread, make up sandwich packs and drop them off at Manna on Main Street or a food bank in Norristown, whatever closest to you. There's all ways you can't obviously go out and have, close encounters with people in Kensington or Center City anymore, but you can still be a service. And in some ways it's harder service because nobody's giving you positive feedback, saying thank you, stuff like that.
Speaking of those service opportunities with Trieste House and the homeless outreach, what are ways that we can stay in touch with the organizations that we regularly help at LaSalle during the school year?
I think those are very much some of the ways you kind of get in contact via email, find out what they need. Perhaps there's you can't do anything for the homeless right now, but St. John's Hospice, I'm sure they have a huge demand on, because they're one of the only places going. And what are they doing? Are they giving away, like sort of a given package that has, maybe a juice box, a sandwich, a side like potato chips, and then something sweet? You can put those together, a couple nights every week and drop them off at the appropriate place. I mean, I think you can stay in touch like that. If your family is not suffering economically because of the situation, you can give money. Even you could give some money. I mean, think about what might one evening cost at El Limon. It's not a fortune. It may be like $8 or something, but you could send $8 to your favorite one of these charities, like to send it to some one of the homeless causes in Philadelphia, or even in the suburbs, we have a number that need help. So you can think that way, and you can maybe see if your parents would be willing to match.
Well, that's all the questions we had for today. We wanted to thank you for stopping by and having a little chat with us. From us at the Ministry and Service Team, we're looking forward to a new opportunity this week for the student body to be able to join what we call LS Praise, which is basically an opportunity for us to come together in small groups and kind of just check in and talk about faith and just check in on everybody. And it's a good time for us to come in community during this time where we're socially distant or physically distant, but we don't have to be socially distant.
Exactly. And I think that checking in is something you can do in a way that whatever 120 of us adults could never accomplish. You probably are much closer to knowing who's a little bit down, who's frustrated, who's maybe not getting the news they want from colleges, and can do your best. I mean, I often think, you have maybe one of the great ways you check in that I've just seen is with the new, LSCHS 2020 colleges, or, it's the custom started about a week into it, where people started putting little positive comments about to people they know. I mean, I think pick somebody maybe that just a little and say something nice to them. I mean, that can be a way to reach out, almost like, I never expected to hear from this guy, and here he's telling me, something, congratulating me about getting to go to Penn State or something. So there's a way to kind of check in, both when you have suspicion something might not be good and when you want to just make a good thing better.
Awesome.
Well, thanks. It's been great to talk to you three. You're looking well, and keep well until we see you again for real back here at LaSalle, which is not too long, I hope.
We hope so too. Thank you, brother.
All right.
Thank
God
you,
bless.
brother.
Take care, gentlemen.
Thank you, Brother James. You too.
Bye.